Hey there, guys. So, I want to talk about something that's been coming up with some increasing frequency lately in the nerd community. The horrifying scourge that is fake geek girls. So, yeah. I know this has come up and been discussed a lot lately, but as a girl who has more than once been tested by geek guys who suspected me of being an imposter, I would just like to weigh in. For those of you who have lives, there's been this increasing attitude within nerd culture that somehow, somewhere, there are these scourges of young women who are going to cons and cosplaying in sexy costumes, taking pictures of themselves with their game controllers, whatever, aren't really into any of that stuff and are just indulging in it to have their egos stroked by poor, noble, easily tricked nerd men, and that this is somehow the greatest wrong that the nerd community has ever faced. Because, nerd attention is nuclear powered and could be stored up to take over the world. I don't know. First off, I'm going to indulge you for a minute and assume that this is actually happening. So what if some girls who aren't necessarily playing D&D every night want to dress up as sexy elves or whatever? How is that hurting you? Do they detract from your enjoyment of nerd culture? Do they stop your chosen avenue of geekiness from being enjoyable? And if you're being pissy because some hot girl at a con gave you an inconvenient boner, that's your problem, not hers. You've been getting boners for years, guys. I expect you to know how to handle them by now. But either way, this fake geek girl that you've all concocted in your heads doesn't really exist. I'll let you in on a little secret. Despite all your efforts to make comics and gaming and stuff like that a boys-only clubhouse, a lot of girls like this stuff too, dude. Comics and stuff are awesome, and a lot of us have stubbornly refused to give them up. We've always been here. Ooh, but what about those girls who have only seen the Avengers movies and just like them for the hot guys and have never read a comic? Okay, first of all, as much as female heroes are objectified in comics, you do not get to bitch about girls enjoying Cap's butt or Thor's big arms. Just a little hypocrite. But more importantly, not everyone gets into comics in the same way at the same time. I mean, think about it. How many of you got into comics because of the Burton Batman movies, or the animated series, or even something as recent as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies? So what if they hadn't read all 30,000 Marvel comics before they went into that theater? They liked what they saw when they got there, and they wanted to be involved in it more. That's a good thing. Comics don't exist in a vacuum. They need readers and buyers of action figures and stuff, bathrobes with the Punisher symbol on them, Batgirl panties, whatever, to survive. Fandom should be trying to welcome people into its fold, not shun them out of it. It's not like most uninitiated people would be comfortable strolling into a comic shop anyway, especially if they're female. I mean, if I go into a comic shop that I'm not familiar with, where the staff don't know me, especially if I'm just in a normal girl dress, my treatment oscillates between three things: chilly reception from the staff, creepy paternalistic attempts to explain comics to me, and creepy come-ons. Side note, nerd culture. Stop being creepy to girls. So if a more mainstream permutation of a character is what a girl connects with, don't judge her. Point her in the direction of some other good things with those characters, or something else Joss Whedon wrote if she dug the Avengers movie, or something else that's similar that you think that she might be interested in. It doesn't hurt your fandom at all. If anything else, it enhances it. This whole fake geek girl thing also has another side effect that really needs to stop. The requirement of some guys for women in nerd spaces to prove their worthiness by forcing them to answer a ton of uber-obscure questions about their fandom of choice. First off, it's really, really insulting, and second off, it makes us feel really unwelcome. I mean, if you were to see my boyfriend in his big old Spider-Man button-down, most people wouldn't think twice to question his Spider-Man knowledge, even though he hasn't picked up a Spider-Man book in a long-ass time. But when I take that shirt and turn it into a dress, I tend to be immediately judged as just having made it to be trendy and get all kinds of questions about which books I read and haven't read, and it starts to feel just a little like an interrogation. And I know I'm not the only girl to have gone through that. Now, generally, I just bring up my desire to cosplay the Amalgam Comics version of Aurora, which is basically that time that Storm was Wonder Woman. It happened, look it up. But I shouldn't have to justify myself like that just for existing within a nerd culture space. When I was working at a booth babe at a local con, I was doing it to get into the con for free and to get paid and store credit to my local comic shop. I didn't have any kind of nefarious plan to suck the souls out of nerd men through my bare midriff. Even within the context of superhero comics, that makes no goddamn sense.